100% coherent place. We have total agreement on the major issues. So people have been concerned, were we going to have a border tax or not a border tax? We clearly decided that we're not having a border tax. And so we're showing to the world how unified we are on the issues.
All right, joining us now is Tony Sayegh. He's Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs at the United States Treasury. Mr. Cohen is very upbeat there, but first you've got to get the budget done and a debt ceiling done, and then you can do tax cuts. Have I got the time frame right on that?
That's about right, Stuart, and thank you very much for having me this morning. Mark Short, who leads the Legislative Affairs Office here at the White House yesterday with Secretary of the Treasury Stephen Mnuchin, participated in a tax reform forum, and he laid out, I think, a very reasonable time frame with the Secretary where you can have legislation crafted by the committees of jurisdiction coming kind of in early September, moving through the House and the Senate through October, bringing it to November. And at that time, you're also going to have the opportunity in Congress to address the debt ceiling, to address the budget, the FY18, which could be necessary for, obviously, the advancement of tax reform. But the one thing that's absolutely clear, as Gary Cohen has said, as Secretary Mnuchin said yesterday, as Paul Ryan has said, and Chairman Brady from Ways and Means, and all the other principals who put out a joint statement together last week, we are unified on getting tax reform done and getting it done this year, and the key elements have become agreed upon to set the framework forward to get it moved quickly through Congress.
Tony, we've heard it before. I don't mean to be blunt, but we have. I mean, how many times?
I expect you to be blunt.
You know, how many times have we heard we must do this, we ought to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's not happened. There was a total fail on health care. Why should we believe that this time, on tax cuts, this is it, it's going to get done? Why should we believe it this time?
Well, look, our colleagues are still working on health care, and we obviously are encouraging them to continue to do so. On tax reform, Stuart, I would have to say we've taken a bit of a different pathway. Clearly, from the very beginning, we have worked together with leadership on Capitol Hill, involving over 200 members that Secretary Mnuchin has met with, along with Gary Cohen, engaging hundreds of stakeholders, businesses, trade associations, small business interest groups, all those elements into the dialogue and listening to them to see what needs to be done on tax. And what you're having now is the fact that on the big items, on the VAT, on expensing, on permanence, on making sure we have lower rates on both the business and individual side, creating a center focus on middle income tax reform on the individual side, we have total agreement on the Republican side. So
yes, on the
we're starting from a very strong position to get this done this year.
So why is General Kelly, the new Chief of Staff of the White House, reaching out to Democrats on tax reform? I mean, why do that? I don't think Democrats are going to cut anybody's taxes.
Well, look, Democrats are going to have to make a political calculation whether or not they want to help this president and Secretary Mnuchin grow the economy. If they want to do that and help the president and the secretary bring middle-income tax relief, there's certainly room for them. I mean, this tax reform plan, Stuart, does something the Democrats have said they've wanted to do for a long time, which is bring real relief to middle-income families and scrap the tax code. Get rid of the special interest loopholes and deductions that they've been decrying for decades. So I think there is a sincerity in being interested in helping, but the question is going to be political will. But look, we're doing our part. We're reaching out. Secretary Mnuchin has met with key Democrats. Congressman Neal, who's the ranking member on Ways and Means, is someone the Secretary talks to about tax reform. We are definitely interested in having participation from both sides of the aisle. They just have to make the decision if they have the political will to do it.
You work at the United States Treasury. Are you suggesting, you don't tell President Trump anything, but are you suggesting to the President that he get out there in the month of August and use his bully pulpit, which is the Oval Office, it is the presidency, like an address to the nation from the Oval Office, or a series of speeches around the country to his supporters, rallies? Are you suggesting he gets out there and sells tax cuts?
Absolutely, Stuart, 100%. Secretary Mnuchin said yesterday the president will go out and sell tax reform. He ran on this issue largely as part of his economic agenda. He won on this issue because he focused the conversation on growing the economy, creating jobs, and good-paying long-term jobs back to the people of this country who have been suffering for 8 years of, frankly, anemic growth. So when you have the president, you have the secretary working together almost every day on this issue to bring serious sincere economic growth back to a sustained level of 3%. I mean, this is the president's agenda item that he is going to take to the American people. This is a large reason he won the presidency, and I think he believes in it very strongly.
Tony, It sounds to me like the Democrats have organized a lawnmower or a leaf blower in the back. There he is. Okay. No, that's a photographer. Okay, so we've got to cut this short, Tony, but thanks for the pep talk. Let's see if the president will get out there and sell a very important piece of his agenda. Tony Sayegh, thanks for joining us, sir.